So here we go. This is FD Signifier. The online left is cooked. All right. All right. All right. All right. That's a great. I don't even think I'll use that in a, I won't even use that in a thumbnail, but that's just perfect.
I'm not going to have fun with this one. We're not going to have fun with this one. It is what it is, but can't have fun all the time. I wrote a script for this. I'm looking right at it, but it feels inadequate. It feels like something that's going to require a longer follow-up video, but it also feels like something I've talked about so many times. It's just frustrating, but here we are. So everybody knows that Joe Biden dropped out of the presidential race.
I also know I like to go off script as well. You know, they told me I have to be on script the entire time. I said, no, I don't want to do it. What is it? What's the point of it? What's the point of it? I wrote it out. They wrote it out. Someone wrote it out. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Oh, are we quiet here?
And that Kamala Harris took his place, and we've seen a very surprising shift in attitudes toward electoral politics from a lot of online left-leaning, starting at just general.
I got him with that. Guys, I didn't want to make this video. What? Can we slip Tyler a tenner to suggest a video? I'll never tell you not to fucking slip me a tenner.
Liberals going further left attitudes since Kamala came to the forefront. And that's created an interesting and concerning and very volatile conversation around what leftists should be doing in this American election. If you ask me, the gap between what to expect in a Kamala Harris presidency and what to expect in a Joe Biden presidency is not all that big. And if you were resigned to not voting for Joe Biden on the basis of certain principles, history tells us you probably should feel the same way about Kamala Harris. However, Kamala is not Joe Biden. In 2020, she ran left of Joe Biden on pretty much every issue. And if we take into account her time as a senator, she'd overall have one of the most progressive records for an incoming president in American history. Now, let's be clear, the bar is in hell. We're not talking about anything radical, world changing, or even status quo changing from her record, but she at least seems to be flashing signs that she might be amenable to being pressured from the left, which Biden showed himself to be pretty much immune to. So for those of you who feel like the removal of Biden from the top of the ticket is something to respond to, like that is a reasonable way to look at things. That said, these two demonstrably true statements of non-committal that I just gave will be enough to get certain people very mad in the comment section at me. It's just the nature of online political discourse, especially right now, as so many of us are far too invested in what voting means here in the States. It is a dumpster fire right now. To be specific, I'm speaking to the real significant animosity toward Black liberals who have gotten energized by the sudden emergence of Kamala Harris and the corresponding criticism from white leftists and now folks from the Middle East who see this as a portrayal of various causes. And the CIA and just counterintelligence, counterinsurgents forces, they have got us cooked right now. We are down bad. So I want to be clear, while I tend to agree.
I'm going to say it's a joke. I don't know. I don't see like there being... Okay, I don't know if it doesn't matter if FD is making this as a joke or not. I'm going to ignore that completely. What I am going to say is some people actually legitimately do believe that like the CIA is doing like COINTELPRO, FBI, ops shit relative to this election. There's always really money being thrown. God damn it. There's always money being thrown around here and there in the election cycles to various people, pretty much anybody with a microphone eventually, and a certain size of community gets approached, you know, here and there to cover stuff. It's very similar. It's just like advertising, really, a lot of times. And some people will go one direction, some people will go the other. But I think really the online left is not as big of a deal as people think it is. Because I people do get swept up in the drama and the money and the crowd sizes and the, you know, the life destroying impact of upsetting people in these spheres. But I think really what you're seeing a lot of times with the online left is just dipshits who were basically on a singular path in life that they would have in no other time period broken away from, being edgy or provocative on the internet, and then coming into contact with money for the first time for talking, and realizing that once they got the money, some of what they were saying could go away if they kept saying it the same way, and making a personal decision to clean up their act, so to say, for normie, and basically approach normie politics and normie politicking in order to keep the bag, because they actually need it. Some people just really, they're like, you'll see people like, man, it's a full on grift. They never believed in anything. They never blah 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 blah. And it's like, sometimes it's like, well, bro, when this person got on, they were 19 and now they're like 28. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about anybody specifically. Don't try to fucking match the ages. They were, you know, whatever, fucking 18, 19 years old, literally a fucking child still. And now it's been 10 years, 15 years since they started, and they are completely different. Like, oh my God, they sold out. They're a grifter. It's like, I don't know. Do you think it's that? Or do you think maybe they just threw all their eggs into one basket and now they're content creators for a living, and the risk of going homeless or having to start a new career from scratch going into their late 20s or whatever, it seems pretty unfucking appealing, as opposed to just, you know, dialing down, muting their rhetoric. And also they're older. And also maybe they've even politically changed, so they just don't think the same things they used to think. I think that happened with more regularity online than most other stuff. And not just like with lefties. It's just a common thing that you see. Creators just get burned out on the content they make. You're like, I just don't want to play video games anymore. iDubbbz was sick of being iDubbbz to the point he doesn't make the same facial expressions he used to make. You know what I'm saying? iDubbbz stopped being iDubbbz so hard that motherfucker's head changed shape. Y'all remember when fucking iDubbbz used to look like Mr. Mackey? Do you remember? That's when I saw him. iDubbbz used to look like a light bulb with a toupee on top of it. And now, somehow he transformed into a completely different individual. That's insane. You're like, he's sold out. I'm like, dude, I think that dude was possessed by, like, he just got fucking replaced. That's a whole different human being. If your whole physiognomy, your physiognomy, I can't do it. I was doing Measurehead fucking posting last night on my Discord. If your entire fucking phrenology can change along with your politics, I'm pretty sure just, you know, like the risk of having your bank account and your lifestyle change after doing this shit for 10 years can be pretty fucking effective too. I think there's some CIA activities involved in the election, but it's more like multiple factions with multiple agendas pushing and pulling their influence. It's one of those things, I would have to see it, really. You know what I mean? People say the CIA, they don't even know where the fucking CIA is headquartered. Certainly, this is my ghost I've made that is responsible for every problem on Earth. It's the CIA. And it's like, it could be a lot of different things. It could just be like the State Department. It could be the Department of Homeland Security. It could be the FBI. It could just be religious groups that are unaffiliated with any governmental organization. It could just be Project Veritas, you know? It could be the Daily Wire people. It could just be an uninterested troll campaign from 4chan. I think the bigger issue really, and what I'm kind of getting at, is the online left is not important. And progressives are not important to politics. They've always been fringe. They've always been fringe because it is the most politically active chunk of a much larger party. And progressives, because they are so dedicated to the ontological, self-important morality of their cause, they believe that they not only have outsized responsibility towards political circles, but that they should have outsized impact. When you actually look at the numbers, progressives have more impact than they should reasonably have on democratic elections. They really do. Like, literally outsized. Like, that people are fucking talking about what you want them to talk about at all is fucking crazy. Like, you're getting more than you probably rightfully deserve as a progressive right now in America. But you want everything. And when you don't get everything, because you've tied your entire self-image and the morality of existing in this world to the immediate success of something that is, for any other cause, immediately and literally impossible, you're like, well, it's got to be ghosts. It's glowies. Glowies are going to get me. The fucking CIA's coming. Like, don't you ever think it's weird how quickly lefties who are ostensibly like, I am a person of high moral character and unfailing personal morals and ethics and stuff, just they are look, sound, and act the exact same as like high tier Christian conservative psychos, where it's like, oh no, actually, like, I'm ontologically good. Anything that I think is also ontologically good, and you're committing genocides by doing stuff that has literally nothing to do with a genocide at all. Like, oh my God, you had a Diet Coke, you're committing fucking genocide against the Palestinians, and if you don't do this, I'm going to start making arguments about why it's probably legally permissible to like do violence against you, and I'm going to become doomer about shit and start talking about how the entire government needs to be shut down because my immediate personal goals are not being achieved, and it's actually probably the CIA, the literal CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, is building a dossier on me, a nobody, when they have all sorts of other shit to do that would be more effective in order to try to like control my mind. Like, do you not see, like, it's like you sound exactly the same as the other crazies. I'm not telling you that your cause is now wrong because you sound like the crazies. I'm saying that when you sound like the crazies, no one wants to fucking listen to you if you do that. This isn't directed at fucking FD. This is just a general observation for people in that fucking sphere. Like, if you start coming off like the Nazis do, people are going to say like, oh, well, it's cool that you sound exactly like these other fucking psychos, but I like the cut of your jib, so I'm 100% going to look past that and just start agreeing with you. Other people are much more, they are concerned with the presentation of the message, because when it's delivered to them from some gibbering, talking about fucking like, oh, the CIA's up in my fucking asshole, like Dale Gribble type, they're going to be, okay, it's not even just a grain of salt. It's a fucking quarter size of a mountain right now.
Agree with the overt leftists in this conversation. It's also very true that you're not about to talk to black folks any type of way online and think that that's going to go over well. I've noticed how many black folks my age and younger have gotten charged up for Kamala Harris. It's starting to remind me of Obama in 2008, which is wild because this is not how we were feeling about Kamala in 2020, or to be honest, the last 4 years. The fact that she's been able to suddenly emerge as this superstar for the Democratic Party and admittedly has been running an effective campaign, it is mind-blowing. It's kind of scary because Kamala Harris was the first person to quit the campaign in 2020, but somehow she's effectively running the exact same playbook that Obama did in 2008 and is working as if we don't know what Obama was by 2016. And this is not good. It's not good for a lot of reasons that I don't want to get into on the B-Sides video, but the reality is the not goodness of it is going to be very hard to explain to liberals and black liberals alike, period. Especially, and let's be honest, if you are not having real conversations with black people and have not been doing that at any point in time up until this point. As a person who,
I gotta say, I know people might make this argument against me. Let me just tell you right now. I recently became aware that, like, actually almost like, I think maybe half, I don't know, I don't count, I don't keep track, but I did realize that, like, most of my mod staff and most of my operating staff for my fucking Discord are people of color. And a lot of my most notable chatters, I'm constantly being mocked by melanated individuals for anything I say. So if you guys want to say anything, I'm here. I don't know if it's like necessarily in conversation, but I will tell you, if I make a misstep in anything that I say for this video, don't look at me. Look at my comment section, because I will be fucking roasted immediately. Sam's husband will be fucking obliterated off fucking rip. I just realized that the other day. I was like, what the fuck? Okay, cool. Like, I don't care, but I mean, what the fuck? It's like an idea I have in my, because I don't ask. It's not like I'm fucking like, hey, welcome to the mod staff. Can you fill out your fucking, there's a race form you have to check before you come here and stuff. I don't ask people. You kind of just like pick it up through osmosis. But I know it was Osu specifically was doing like raps and stuff, and I was like, I don't know, he might be, he's a little bit black coded or whatever here. I'm not gonna bring it up, don't care. But then like he wrote a rap lyric, and I was like, well, if you're gonna use that word, you better sure as shit. And people have like everyone, like there's so many fucking like non-white individuals in my Discord that talk to each other. Sometimes they're just like, okay, blah 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 blah, and they'll pop off, with a word that's ostensibly banned, because I guess usually in lefty servers it's white as fucking Christmas morning, you know what I mean? And there's people like, okay, should we ban this individual? And then like half the mods are, no, that's a black woman. Do not ban them for that word. Do not ban them. Retract ban. Don't undo the timeout. Stop. I was like, oh my god, is my fucking Discord like really not like the other ones? Comb your hair, Tyler? No. I gotta start putting stuff in it. Gonna be handsome. I don't do my hair up because I wear fucking headphones on stream, but I can do the I got that beaver cleaver cut. You know what I mean? Oh, I got whiplash.
Was a hardcore Obama fan in 2008. I can tell you there was nothing you could have told me in that moment that would have changed my mind about Obama at that time. At best, you'd have been ignored. At worst, you'd have been cursed out, which is
Gluttonous almost got me. Tyler can identify the blacks through osmosis. Must be his German blood. See what I mean? The online left is cooked. They must be starting with me because I'm constantly getting fucking cooked. Constantly cooked in this fucking chat.
I think what's happening to a lot of white leftists online. But beyond the white leftists, who I'll get back to in a second, this is also happening between black folks, black liberals in America, along with some black folks in places like the Congo and Middle Eastern folks in Palestine, Lebanon, that have been perpetual but invisible victims of American imperialism for generations, places that Obama himself bombed and drone struck relentlessly while he was president. From a purely political standpoint, I stand with the victims of American imperialism and have no real allegiance to America's behavior overseas. And although I completely recognize that a Trump presidency will be worse for everyone, I also completely understand the fear and frustration.
Fucking Mox light me up. Can you guys talk so Mox can populate Mox out of here so I don't look like an asshole when I cut this video? Fucking FD's over here is talking very serious topics. Very serious topics. Everyone's like, Mox, like, Tyler only said the N-word once. It's true. I was reading the rap lyrics to Biggie Smalls' 10 Crack Commandments because I was trying to be the cool social studies teacher, and it blew up in my face. God damn. Oh my god. Fuck. Obama. Obama gets a lot of flack for being Obama, like literally like bombing the shit out of Pakistan again and again and again and again and again and again, and not pulling out of Afghanistan actually, much to Joe Biden's chagrin at the time. I would say that's a bad move, ultimately. Like, looking back on Obama, definitely the drone strikes and shit were a bad move. I think it was also not like necessarily like Obama went, fuck, I love drone strikes and I want to continue doing these every goddamn day. As opposed to Donald Trump, who apparently actually really enjoyed them. Like, he actually was like, let's do it again. That's what, oh my God, look at him run. He's whoa. He's fast, but he's not that quick. Look, there he goes. There he goes. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. Look at the white dots. They're spreading out. Beautiful. Do we have another one? Is there another wedding down the street? Let's keep going. Fucking psycho, dude. When Obama got elected, here's the thing, too. That we're kind of like glossing over with this kind of going into Kamala, is that when Obama got elected in 2008, he was first and foremost, obviously, the first black president, which was cool. Kick down doors, open them up. That didn't mean that much to white America at all. So, he had to do other shit too, because they just asked about his birth certificate for the next 8 years and counting. I feel like Donnie could get one more fucking. We just still don't know. He's never provided a birth certificate. He could be from Kenya. He's a Kenyan. He's very fast. That's why he ran away from office the second he was done to go hang out with the CEO of Virgin Wireless, mobile cell phone companies. A madman. But what he inherited was the 2007 financial collapse, which was extreme and pretty much the main focus of everybody's concern when he got elected. The Iraq War was on. He was mired in a geopolitical and economic situation that was completely fucked. Completely fucked. Obama, and even to an extent, Donald Trump and Joe Biden, did not fire a single drone missile their entire presidencies. That was not the direct fault of the Bush administration's absolute mishandling of the global war on terror. Starting it, fucking it up, and basically establishing a risk board that required constant drone strikes, unpiloted drone strikes over the border of Afghanistan into Pakistan to decrease, and basically, not to decrease, but to basically just harass the Taliban that was hanging out in Pakistan at fucking Osama bin Laden's house and going back and forth over that border. And of course, killing civilians in the process of it, because as a war action, you are naturally going to inevitably kill civilians, particularly when you're doing your target identification by looking at white dots on a black screen and taking a shitload of amphetamines before you actually press the button. I don't think that drone warfare is particularly effective or efficacious, except for probably in the case of Ukraine, Russia. It seems like it's actually pretty solid for both sides as a way to fight. I don't think the drone warfare program throughout the global war on terror was ultimately a benefit. I think it was pretty much a stopgap. There was worse things that they could have chosen to do. There was a lot of non-options that existed as well. People are like, why didn't you just stop doing the drone strikes? Like, okay, you gotta get into that, Hunter, and talk about the complexities of the Afghan Kush and the fucking the Afghan conflict and border crossings and all this fucking hoopla and bullshit. Also, Pakistan was fucking okay with us doing it. Even if they got like huffy about it here and there, they were like, yeah, it's fucking cool. We love it when you kill Talibs. If they cross the border, fucking blow them up. Otherwise, we're going to be doing it anyway. So, like, he inherited the 2007 financial collapse, as well as the push in the Iraq War. I was a part of the push, 2006, which is a massive draw up of troops and an increase in overall combat action throughout the entirety of both theaters of war. There's a two theater war with infinite fronts because it was against the concept of terror. And so he also had to deal with, at home, a massive economic collapse and increasingly burdensome, veteran population, because the surge was going to be over, and he knew when the surge ends, he's going to have to deal with all the veterans. The veterans' healthcare system was fucked at the time, hilariously fucked when I got out of the Marine Corps. It was all paper. Multiple millions of veterans with all of their records on paper in 2009. Okay. So that had to be overhauled as well, along with all of the just general day-to-day operations of the United States of America, which was in an economic crunch. There was a lot of laws being passed in and around that time. Citizens United comes from then. The PAC laws that let a lot of interfering money be involved in politics. It just made the entire political sphere in America and abroad profoundly difficult to deal with, and drone bombing on top of that was probably one of his least big concerns during the day. And if anything, I would say of all the shit that he had to deal with as the president of the United States of fucking America, presiding over the drone strikes, upping the drone strike program while trying to draw back, upping the drone strikes decreased overall American physical unit interaction with Afghan, or not with Afghan troops, but with Talib troops and Al-Qaeda troops. And then, of course, fucking 60% of the way through his presidency, we had the onset of ISIL, whatever you want to call it. ISIS popped up in northern Iraq, started disintegrating pretty soon after, like most of those do, although it did exist. ISIS and ISIL, whatever the fuck you want to call it, different Daesh al-Islam people, basically a lot of other Al-Qaeda cells and other terror cells that were made different ways, and Muslim Brotherhood contingents that were already a little fired up, decided to basically take that and try to move into other areas as well. And so drone strikes assisted in trying to put pressure on those cells by basically keeping them too scared to meet. Also, you still just lose civilian life. It's not like it's justified. It does not justify the loss of civilian life. It does not. But there's not a situation where you also get to say, like, no one dies today because we're going to stop fighting and put, like, little daisies in the ends of all of our guns, and that's going to make it like everything never happened. Of course, also during this, you have Ferguson. You have, like, massive riots in America, insane civil unrest, along with the basically a lot of veterans were getting out of the military, and a lot of military surplus was being put into the civilian market from the military as we upgraded our weapons going through Iraq. And then that went onto the civilian market. The most common purchasers of that military technology were local and state law enforcement agencies who wanted to put it to use. And so you saw heavily armored troops, basically on the streets. That weirded people out, and it caused another issue. We also had another bank crash. Obviously, Occupy Wall Street and shit popped up. It was busy years. If your only issue is American imperialism, I don't know what to tell you. If anything, it's one of the least concerning things to me, because it's not really an act. It's not inherent to a single president. It's the American imperial. The American imperialism, however you want to call it, is not a single policy, right? It might be something that you can, like, draw back to Henry Kissinger and be like, this guy, well, what we need to do is we need to make an America that is all across the world, and if we can get into the Middle East, every bomb that is dropped is another dollar in the pocket of the American taxpayer. There's no reason to not be doing this. The world will fall into chaos without the suppression of the Islamic gene. Ever notice how fucking close Henry Kissinger gets to Measurehead? That might be the idea. There's, like, an overall idea, but that idea does not go to, like, it's like from Henry Kissinger to the president, and the president goes, okay, as the king of America, I'm going to make this happen. The president is still only the leader of the executive branch. As much as that got stretched out by the Bush presidency into, sometimes the president can imagine what kind of powers he has, and now with the Trump presidency and the Supreme Court decision recently, they're like, I think he can use his imagination as much as he wants. That should not and is not supposed to be the case. Nor does it actually affect the legislation and the legislative packages that require executives to act. Now, you think of executive branch individuals as, like, human beings with their own ability to do and not do stuff, but a lot of times executive branch individuals, the president, and, DAs, AGs, cops, whatever, and what have you, their ability to act is actually limited by the legislature. The American legislature, the Senate, and Congress, they put together things that have to be done. They're called laws. All right, and all sorts of other shit, resolutions and mandates and this and that and all that, blah, 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 blah. The judiciary also has things that they say that the executive branch must do. And so if the executive branch has to make a decision and it's only given one or two decisions that can actually result in a good outcome, it's generally like the lesser of two evils, because we live on Earth, which is not fair. It is an unfair thing. And so they have to do the lesser of two evils decisions. And I feel like it's very short-sighted and very like sophomore in college, 202 program to boil down the responsibilities and the actions of the presidency to just a few unfortunate, awful decisions. And this sort of like retroactive kind of painting of Obama as this like actually like he was like, an interloper. He's not a true true black revolutionary or something. I don't know. I don't know really where we're getting with it, but I keep hearing it come up more and more often. Obama did unfuck the economy. Like, he unfucked the economy, and he started the drawdown in Iraq and Afghanistan in a way that would not immediately in 2016 lead to a Republican being able to, I don't really like that I have to do it, but I believe that 20,000 more troops, 25,000 more troops in the Middle East will accomplish all of the goals that we set out. It's very good. They limited with our approach to it and showing that was efficacious and being very, very valuable in the public opinion, that adding additional troops in the Middle East would not be looked positively upon. Now, 1,000 people deployed, a MU deployed. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about permanent deployments, establishment of FOBs, draw ups of 100, 200,000 people on constant rotation deep within the countries, not at established, diminished bases in, one or two fucking cities, Fallujah and fucking Baghdad, and maybe Al-Assad still. And we left. We did a drawdown plan and left. We left Iraq. Left. There's still Americans there, but it's not like it was when I was there. As far as any fucking, the vast majority, I think, of OIF veterans like me are concerned, we are out of Iraq. You know what I mean? If I can't go back to my old fob and it's still there, as far as I'm concerned, any of the fucking three, the drawdown's pretty successful. We left. We did changeovers. My last two deployments were basically, and even a part of my first deployment, were all changeovers and exchanging of areas with the Iraqi army and with the Iraqi police forces. We were doing train ups and we fucking rolled. Oh, hey, FD is here. What's up, man? What's up? Are we being nice? I just never want to see my face in the thumbnail and then Tyler looking directly at the screen. Oh, don't worry. I'm being pretty chill. Feel free to rewind. I'm going to keep talking about you. But no, it's not. I'm not really dogging on you. It's just a certain sort of like overall mentality. If it's like a my point is, to summate, because you're here, that I don't think I don't think it's particularly politically how to say this right. I don't think it's particularly accurate to sort of paint Obama with sort of the brush of his worst decisions, but I understand it is kind of where I was going with it. Like, I get that if those are the biggest concerns for you, were the sort of American imperial aspect of it and, the drone bombings and stuff, I think that's fine. But I think Obama's career is considerably more complicated as president than, nowadays it does seem like people try to boil it down to more to Obama, Obama's bombing Obama. Most drone strikes since any president before him, which was, George Bush, who didn't have the drone program in place yet, that Obama took advantage of. And then Trump outdid him pretty soundly. And then we had the drawdown of Afghanistan later. But I think it's not probably perfect for somebody who's completely anti-imperialist for America, but I think he did a pretty solid job in reducing the overall American footprint in the wars that we were involved in, while not completely setting up a loss, which is kind of the hard thing to do. Reducing troop presence while not losing all the ground that we gained, and while not risking the lives of the troops that are being pulled back. Like, hey, we got to remove 30% of our footprint per year and reduce back to these bases. Then you have to okay, well, we can't lose this base, because if we lose this base, we lose this road. If we lose this road, they have an attack vector on this base, and that base you don't have set up to leave until 2 years, and so it's going to be out on it's going to be way too forward. bada, 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 bada. These things are really, really complex. Obviously, if you're just concerned with the outcome, bad is bad. Bad is bad. But I think these hyper focusing on Obama, and particularly I think this is going to lead into my conversation, might be on yours too with Kamala, as being like, she's a cop. Kamala Harris. She was a police officer. She arrested me for drunk driving in 1982. She slapped me right in my bad ear. You know what I mean? It's FD, my dread father. Obama's legacy is kind of a personal bugaboo for me and a lot of black millennials my age. No, I get it. It's one of those things, you can't talk people out of it, obviously. It was, if you're running on hope, which I remember the hope campaign, I think everybody probably in their own mind, especially if you were like deeply spiritually connected to that message of hope, you probably turned hope into your own version of hope. It's like, okay, the black president right in front of me, this cool guy is going to do what I, as a cool guy and a black dude, would do. And then you go, oh shit, he didn't. You know what I mean? Like, you think he's going to be like hyper this, hyper that, blah, 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 blah. And like your hope kind of gets dashed. Like literally your hopes get dashed throughout the presidency. It's fucking rough. It's fucking rough. I think overall he did a pretty solid job. And a lot of the biggest fuck ups did come from the last few years of his presidency. But also his arms were tied, or his hands were tied in a lot of ways that, you don't have to give it credit for. There's probably stuff he could have done. My biggest issues with Obama are not ending Gitmo. The not shutting down Gitmo is still one of the most irritating things to me. I just have to not know enough about that situation that, like, maybe it could be made sense to me why we still have to have Gitmo and we can't just have that fucking... I'm talking about Guantanamo Bay, if you guys don't know what Gitmo is. I don't think that Guantanamo Bay is a net positive for America. I don't think it actually provides us a lot of operational ability. There's no reason we could not have what it is inside the continental United States as a federal prison of war camp. I mean, it would look worse, and I think it should look worse if we're going to have a POW camp. We should have to operate it on American soil. I don't think we should be on Cuban soil while we have an embargo. It's a very complicated thing. One of my biggest issues with him is definitely, like, Gitmo didn't get shut down. I do not like the mishandled drone strikes and the sort of... I don't think Obama had a very good handle on military policy. As a person who served under him and voted for him, actually, where I tried to, but I found out I wasn't registered to vote. But I still, in my heart, I went to the voting place and just didn't realize that I couldn't, as a goddamn active duty United States Marine combat fucking veteran, just vote for Obama by walking to a voting place. I didn't know that, and I felt dumb. Didn't have time to register, what with me being immediately between my second and third combat deployments. Didn't know that was something I had to do. I'm going to bounce. You're going to be mad at me by the end probably, so I want you to feel free to speak your piece. I doubt I'll be mad at you. I don't really get that mad. Maybe I will. But where was I? But yeah, I think that I did not like the mishandling of the drone strikes. I blame Obama for that mostly because he was supposed to be in charge of everybody and not have that happen. But I don't think he had a very good control on the military and a very good relationship with military leaders. I don't know necessarily why. Obviously, you can go, there's like Billy McChrystal's war and all that shit with the New York Times talking about Obama's mishandling Afghanistan. If I was Obama, in retrospect, seeing how Joe Biden did, I would have, if Joe Biden had a single idea about Afghanistan, I would have listened to him and I would have let Joe Biden just oversee that entire thing. And we would have probably been out of Afghanistan in fucking 2014. And I would have been okay with it because it would have still been the same result that we got in 2021, but just with way less loss of life and money. You know what I mean? And probably a better overall vibe in the region because it just, people hated us more every year. That, and then obviously, of course, the fucking up, not putting insane amounts of pressure on RBG, whatever, on Ruth Bader Ginsburg to step down in a reasonable amount of time for the American people and doff her hat as Joe Biden eventually did and like actually lead to a fucking victory for us. That was a big misstep. That was probably the biggest misstep of his entire fucking career, is flubbing that Supreme Court nomination and not just using everything in his power to ensure that his party had access to one from either side of the aisle, not making sure that his party had access to and that some control over electing one of the 9 most important people on earth, or appointing one of the 9 most important people on earth, was a massive fuck up on his part. But it is what it is. Cow thumbnail, moo. What? You talking about the other guy? Bye, FD. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, FD. You're probably still hanging out a little bit, but one last thing you should do at a minimum, look at the comment section for President Sunday's reaction. I've never seen Debate fans take my side before. Oh, I don't interact with that community anymore. It's donezo. But I did hear he had I think he called you racist. I heard that. FD Signifier. That's what I meant when I said they don't even understand how off-putting they are to black libs. It's not really my community to comment on too much. Just want to try to make my peace while also not stepping on too many toes. But let's
frustration that some folks outside of the U.S. have at seeing us start Stan accounts for a presidential candidate who we can rest assured will only continue the American imperialistic agenda. And much like Obama, will be able to hide these atrocities behind black excellence and black success and black faces in high places and a lot of things that will get black liberals charged up to defend when it's really indefensible. When you're hearing some of these folks in the Middle East talk about how black people have a role in colonization, they're not wrong. That's what they're talking about. But from the perspective of a lot of black folks, liberal and otherwise, this really feels out of pocket and extra aggressive, which it has been. Because on the flip side, it's always us and our image that is constantly evoked and used to push left-leaning agendas of all sorts, both here in America, but worldwide. And most times this can look amazing. It looks like these global moments of solidarity where we can rejoice in the fact that other people in the world are standing with us. But in other times, it looks like white girls painting themselves black for poorly thought out art pieces. History has taught black people in America.
FD, if you watch back through this, I'm highly disappointed that that was not a picture that I got to see. I was bracing for whoa, but it didn't happen. I wanted to see the white girl in blackface. God damn it.
From any political standpoint, that at the end of the day, we will probably be on our own and cannot count on anyone but each other. And even then, I mean, if you look at like the Black Lives Matter organization and what that did, you can't even count on black folks sometimes. And that's really frustrating because it's a reminder of how virulent and ever-present anti-blackness. I
think from what I know, that's one of the things that the other guy had a little bit of an issue with. If you're not from America and you don't understand how Black Lives Matter works, it is not a single organization. It's kind of an idea, really. But there is no, it's not like the NAACP where you have the NAACP, the National Association for Colored People, right? National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. There we go. Sorry. Old name still. That's what it is. NAACP. I cannot fucking say it without hearing Kanye West's head. Kanye West's voice in my head. Give me an NAACP award, but then they give me the award. That's like an actual national organization with like charters and charter members, and it kind of like goes down. But you can talk to people that are from the NAACP, and it's organized, and you can kind of like call it up and like ask them questions and shit. I don't know. I've never really tried, but it's a potentiality. You know what I mean? It's very similar to something like also like the ACLU, right? The ACLU has offices, branches in every state. They're all over the place. They're a national organization, but they're also cohesive, right? Black Lives Matter was a slogan, first and foremost, for a long time. And it was a slogan for like half a decade, basically, before Breonna Taylor and what's his name? Say his name. George Floyd. Before George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery, that kind of like triple it, and there's just a shitload of police violence and murders that all got really, really prominent in 2020 and right around that area. That's when BLM kind of came back hardcore. BLM before that was really more of a slogan. Now, there's probably organizations that were associated with it, but BLM itself is not a national organization. It probably is a national organization of Black Lives Matter. Maybe somebody put it together and trademarked it. Very important. But it wasn't established the same way that those other sort of organizations are. So you would have people that were like, we are BLM Louisville, which was one. We're BLM St. Louis. We're BLM like North Austin. We're BLM Oakland, BLM, South Beach and shit. And they would start up these orgs because you can just start it up because it's not like the NAACP or the ACLU or these other fucking organizations that have copyright and trademark protection on their name and have like established themselves as orgs. You just say I'm BLM anywhere and set up a fucking 2013C. God, why does my brain a nonprofit? You set up a nonprofit in it. You can now just take in charitable donations and start giving interviews, as the organization that you founded and represent. I'm the founder of I could have been literally the founder of Black Lives Matter Germantown, Louisville. You know what I mean? While the Breonna Taylor protests were going on. I could have just done that, and they weren't. There's no one that's going to stop me when I like go downtown to file my paperwork or online, and they're like, "Well, I don't know if you understand this, but you are fucking honky as fuck, motherfucking cracker. What the fuck are you fucking doing, whitey? Trying to start up a Black Lives Matter organization." They're not going to do that. They're not going to check at all. They're not going to see anything except for your fucking social security number and any other filing paperwork that's necessary for it. And then you're golden. And then you can just take in money. That's one of the biggest issues with Black Lives Matter is that it isn't Black Lives Matter, the organization that is responsible for everything that's ever happened when someone said Black Lives Matter, because that doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. There aren't people that were protesting under Black Lives Matter in fucking like St. Louis or something that were, I'm saying this might have been the case, that were like, but literally were under the overall umbrella of like the National Black Lives Matter Foundation or whatever, because that wasn't an established thing. It kind of popped up overnight. And there were a lot of black people who were starting these fake, well, I guess they're real 215 or 301.5Cs. Jesus Christ, my brain cannot remember the goddamn code for that. They were starting these nonprofits, taking in money, shitloads of money. Some of these Black Lives Matter chapters took in hundreds of thousands of dollars in charitable donations and just pocketed it or misused it or lost it or gave it back or it just vanished or they just vanished. Sometimes they didn't even have the actual nonprofit. They just said, yeah, if you want to get a hold of somebody, you talk to me. My name is whatever the fuck. And I'm the head of Black Lives Matter fucking, North Nashville. And then people would give this individual money. They would show up. They would talk, be on the camera. And then they would vanish because they would go and hit it for a payday. And then there was other people who would just misrepresent what Black Lives Matter stood for. They would go crazy. It would be like a very similar thing to like anti-work, the our anti-work debacle, where one idiot from our anti-work got to represent our anti-work and then made everyone else look like a fucking moron and absolutely destroyed that entire movement. That was the big issue with Black Lives Matter, is it's not an organization. It's sort of kind of a movement, but mostly it's just a slogan that people started appending to a sense of organization that still wasn't actually real. And to this day, wherever you were, maybe you had really good Black Lives Matter protests and really good organizers, or maybe you just showed up and you're like, who organized this? And everyone's like, we just came downtown because people were posting about it on Facebook, and like no one's in charge of it. And then that shit would actually pop off and become dangerous because you had dumb fucks that would show up that aren't even Black Lives Matter. There's some like little, like, we're fucking, I'm not going to name one that I know of because I think of them all the time because they're so fucking stupid. But it's like, yeah, we're the fucking we're the black militia for human rights. You know what I mean? And it's like, what are you really? It's like, it's four idiots with shotguns is what it is. Four idiots with shotguns and a bullhorn. And they're in charge of the movement now because they showed up and they had 4 idiots with shotguns and a bullhorn. They have the bullhorn, so now they're in charge of Black Lives Matter, this area. And that's kind of the biggest issue with it. It was highly, highly unorganized. And a lot of people did get backfooted trying to like defend Black Lives Matter protests because there is no national spokesperson for Black Lives Matter to say like, yes, this is, no, this isn't, yes, this is, no, this isn't. The righties got the chance that entire time to just constantly say like, look, BLM protests are burning down these targets. This is exactly what they want. And then you didn't have really a concentrated group of people to say like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, we don't even know who those people are. Wait, was our anti-work not about how people shouldn't have to work and should get UBIs? Apparently not. That's what I heard about it, and then I keep repeating that, and people are telling me wrong. They're telling me I was wrong, so I was like, I don't know. The whole criticism against orgs profiting off of it was so weak. Okay, so people took advantage of it. Does that magically negate the real frustrations people were feeling? No, but it does permanently damper the slogan, literally. Like it puts a negative vibe in the air when people say BLM, that it could get taken advantage of like that. And the thing is when you don't have a strong centralized organization committee, basically something like that, to say these are our issues, these are our demands, we're in cooperation with 10,000 people here in downtown Louisville, whatever the fuck. When you don't have that, there's a vacuum where it goes, and then people can just put narrative into that space, and it becomes the way people think about it. Which is why that fuck up is why, and it's not like it's any individual person's fault. It was just kind of an issue of no one that was responsible getting ahead of the curve of something that really no one responsible could have gotten ahead of the curve on. It would have been a miracle for someone to become the face of that movement in a way that would actually like everyone would respect, and they could talk to the entire movement as fast as it kind of built up. And so you have that, there is not that person that actually should be even taking the hit for that. It's no one's fault, but because it was the movement had that sort of soft underbelly, you could strike at it, and there's really nothing you can say against it because the issues that arise are because of the lack of organization. Now, if you want to be a racist and say they're not organized because they're black people, that is actually fucking racist, and that's fucking ridiculous, which is what a lot of the righties were also trying to infer. But really the actual issue is that if you have a lot of heat and you have a lot of big issues like this and you care about it, you should desperately try to get up and put a lid on the top of it, not to like stop it, but just to hold the pressure cooker, where it needs to be, and release the valve and the steam at once, and try to tell everyone this is what the fuck's going on, and like get ahead of it. Which is why I still say that BLM is overall a positive, because I think there's a lot of on the ground activists who matured, literally grew up in the fucking 5 or 6 months maybe that they spent attending these protests, and were like, this is what I need to do, this is where I need to go, this is what I'm going to learn from this. Because the Black Lives Matter protests spawned so many political careers of motivated on the ground people who did exactly what I'm talking about. And they did get out there, and they did get ahead of the protests, and they did say, all right, we need everyone to listen now. You guys need to listen. We're going crazy. I need you to calm the fuck down. We're going to talk together. We are going to take a breath. We are going to talk together. Like, that's what I mean. Not just like, hey, what are we mad about? This? What do we want? This? When do we want it? Now. Okay. You just need that much control. It's not like a big thing. It's not like, everyone go home and think about what you've done until Whitey says come back outside. It's just, okay, now we're focused. We can go in one direction. That's literally all you needed. And it happened in a lot of different places. But it's also not a result of Black Lives Matter necessarily. It's a result of those individuals who were just spurned on by their own disgust with what was going on and their own desire to see change, that they went, this is a moment. I'm going to take advantage of it. And I'm going to see if I can't make this into something that is going to create the change I want to see in the world. And there's a lot of people that came out of that doing great. And some of those people that came out of it doing great failed a few years down the road. We have people like Jamal Bowman. It is what it is. I don't think the Black Lives Matter protests were bad. They've been way maligned. I just want to say the reason they were maligned is a legitimate reason to malign something. It was the lack of organization. There's no other reason for it other than that. And there's no probably anybody that could have not seemed like a self-insert psycho if they would have tried to jump up to the top of it. I think actually people did try to go and grab the reins of Black Lives Matter at a national scale, and all of them got fucking bucked off that horse, so to say. There was kind of just nothing to do about it. But like going forward into the future, it's kind of like knowing, hey, I do have this political will for these causes in my city. You can get 10,000 people in downtown Louisville right now ready to do something with the right impetus. We need a control in place for the next time that happens to say, we're here already. We're talking about this. We're going to help everybody. We're going to make sure you stay safe. We're going to make sure you stay hydrated. We're going to make sure that any paperwork that needs to get filled out is going to get filled out. And we're going to try to get between you and the cops so that you can say what you need to say. That's kind of really where I'm going with it. Way off topic. Sorry. Get back to FD. FD's making some good points. I just want to fucking talk about it. It's literally good conversational seeds.
This is and how it comes out so quickly and reflexively. As soon as any given person that considers himself an ally has a problem with something a black person said or did, the anti-blackness is just like, it's like Tourette's syndrome. Like it just comes right out, and it makes you feel like none of these people are actually allies, even when they are acting in an allyship role, because why is that so easy for you to fall back into? Coming back to the CIA role in this, why are black folks getting the attention for the newfound support for Kamala Harris? We are not the driving force behind American politics. We are 13% of the population, maybe 5% of the electorate. Like the fact that black people and Congolese people and Palestinian people are fighting each other online right now is the most ass backwards and heartbreaking thing I've seen online in a while. And it shows the flaws in the medium of social media as a tool for seeking liberation or even just educating on certain topics. But it's not just the medium, like it's us, it's y'all. Like the way y'all act and think when it comes to these platforms, it don't work. It's not working, and something needs to change. I've said in so many videos that these platforms are designed explicitly to minimize informed and useful discourse and maximize hot takes and abrasiveness. A lot of good education and communication is possible, but it constantly has to fight for space with the most ridiculous and misguided messages ever. The type of nuance and care and insight that this conversation needs, it's not going to happen in a 60-second TikTok video, or even a, hour-long YouTube video is only going to scratch the surface. And don't get me started on fucking Twitter. Like, when I think about the dude, Nacho Supremo, I don't know this dude's name. You know who I'm talking about. That's getting drugged. He was probably the first person of a significant size to get drugged for his response to Kamala Harris.
You're not voting for the cop. You need to vote for the cop, because it's the cop's turn to be president.
I imagine that had he not been content brained, that he'd have responded differently up front, and then when he was brought to the table to say, hey, this wasn't cool. I think in a situation where people get a chance to have actual conversations that don't have to be consumed through this medium, people tend to come off way better. But when you have to...
Give me just a sec, FT. I want to finish here because I got to clarify this. I don't know when this point's going to end. Machino Dorito is the guy's name, is cringe as fuck. He is cringe, pure TikTok politics creator cringe. He is basically blessed by the fact that there's not a lolcow commentary community on TikTok that's like as kind of pernicious and focused as the ones on YouTube are. Machino Doritos had a number of meltdowns and stuff. He can't take criticism. He's basically the Hassan of TikTok, but like at TikTok speed, so like insanely more cringe. He's got like, it's not like it's like every take he ever had was bad, or every video he ever makes is dog shit, or not relevant, or you should just fucking, if you see him, pee on him. He's just a standard New Yorker from basically. Like he's just a fucking white bread liberal lefty guy from New York who has a large platform and just sort of does the TikTok thing. I started on TikTok. I say that all the goddamn time. When I was getting into politics, and it's just not worth it. I made a bunch of videos on there and got some views, but it's just dog shit. I fucking hate TikTok. But you get a lot of like repeats and like reruns, and you reuse other people's content, and you see on TikTok people running out the same ideas again and again and again with just a little bit more slightly different flavor on it, right? His is the Cool Ranch edition of usually shit that like other smaller creators of color and shit are talking. He probably justifies it to himself by saying like, oh, I saw a smaller Palestinian creator talking about this, so I'm going to fucking run it out again. But he doesn't really change the tone a lot of the time. So he just comes off like cringe as fuck. I've seen more Machino Dorito is cringe than I've seen like him do something I'm entertained by. He is the slightly more cringe left hand of Lowell Overruled. They're basically like the same guy. They both are people that you would put on a Guess Who board. Lowell Overruled on one chip and then him on another.
To have pithy, like soundbite content that also somehow was supposed to speak to these complex and big brain political ideologies, you have to squeeze and flatten them into, you know, fucking Burger King sandwiches. Like it's, and then we respond to these flattened, you know, commodified, optimized for content consumption, like, share, and subscribe messages around these politics as if it's the real message, as if it's the massive text that the messaging was developed from, or the years-long study and like organizing work and community work that all this stuff really is supposed to lead to. We make it just this, and this doesn't do much of anything except for create the environment for what's happening right now. And because the hot take version of these politics is what it's shared, is what builds platforms, people are incentivized to behave in the most non-productive ways. And we gotta stop. We gotta stop. I really want folks to just step away from the keyboard and go to your own tangible communities, IRL if possible, but online in smaller pockets if necessary, and focus on work and education and communication that can be done there. Because this situation happening right now has PSYOP written all over it. And part of me feels this because unironically, this again all started with white leftists, as these things tend to do. And that's a bugaboo that I've had forever, because it feels like so many white leftists barely know how to effectively communicate with each other in like useful and effective ways. And I don't know what in the world made them think that some of these statements and videos are going to go over well with black people, especially black liberals. Like who?
Okay, no, I'm not mad. This isn't racist at all. I think I know exactly. I think I know exactly what he's talking about, and this is TikTok shit. I think FD is seeing the same thing. The same reason why I stopped using TikTok is it's like a highly reductive cycle. You guys know when I cut the other creator out and I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that drama cycle because it's not valuable. You're fucking not that big. I'm not that big. And it's just going to be a fucking trash swirl in the fucking ocean. Not even in the ocean, in a fucking creek. There's no reason. TikTok thrives off of doing specifically that. So I think, and I know I followed a bunch of black creators on TikTok too, and I would see this happen again and again and again and again and again and again. And it really does oversaturate reaction to stuff. So more than likely what he saw is something like Machino Dorito said that cringe take, right? The way that TikTok works, everybody does like responses and duets to it where they comment on his cringe take, okay? And then people comment on that person's cringe take and comment. And it really cycles out of control super fast because everybody is in a very, very pressurized content cycle. If you go over 1 minute on TikTok, you kind of get pulled out of the algorithm unless you're huge. So everybody tries to keep their stuff to the exact same size as the other content for a duet, or under a minute if possible. Now, the longer videos get you paid and shit, but who gives a fuck about that? You're not getting that if you're smaller because people flip right through it. And I think if you stay on that, you will get TikTok brain rot. I fixed my TikTok by getting off of all political TikToks because it's bad. It's dog shit content. Like the dominant forces over there, like mine was way too much Midwestern Marx and fucking Hunter Avallone, whose opinions I couldn't give two shits about, with all due respect. Because Midwestern Marx, if you're listening to this, you're like, you want to pick a fight. I don't like the way your voice sounds. I can't. It just you have like a speaking issue or something. It just drives me fucking crazy. I don't know what it is. I just don't like hearing you. Hunter Avallone, same fucking thing. I just don't want to hear you fucking talk. But for some reason, you got like pushed to me again and again and again. I think it's just I get irritated by it. I followed like Christian Devine, Devane. I can't remember. Christian something or other. The black dude that used to wear the fucking, used to wear a knit hat, and then I saw him like, actually I think this morning, and he wasn't wearing it anymore. I was like, who is this guy? Who is this individual? Oh, it's a different dude. And the what is the other black dude who's really, really popular on there that does the really complicated cosplays, but then also does like really hot political takes. That's his whole thing, and he's got like 15 fucking things. For politics, I would see those four individuals constantly. And I think one or two of them had like multiple accounts of like, so it would be like this one and then that one and then this one and that one and this one and that one. And so you just see like constant shit. And then I would like try to not see that. And then you would see other people responding to them and people responding to the responses where it's always this somebody talking. What we need to do is anybody that ever sells a drone in America, I don't know, maybe you should be thrown into the ocean. Somebody like, this is just a great point. I wanted to say that this is a great point from him. We don't hear enough voices like this. This is fucking amazing. And then that cuts to another duet. It's like, here we have yet again more evidence of the anti-drone industry racism that is being perpetuated by anti-Turkish sentiment in America. To another duet that's like, yeah, I don't know if you guys understand this, but this ongoing conversation has failed in any way, shape, or form to center the people at the original video that we're supposed to be talking about, the Palestinian children who were dead. And then it's another duet, and it like that shit will fucking literally drive you crazy because it's stupid as fuck. TikTok has no barrier for entry, and there is no natural predators. There are no natural predators on TikTok because you can kind of get banned, and they have a way stricter policy on derogatory speech or like content. Not like you're going to be racist, like you're just going to be insulting. So they don't have what I feel like you kind of need, like a Chud Logic type asshole or the rest of these fucking pricks. You're like, what in the fuck is this? Fuck cringe bullshit. Can you shut the fuck? What the fuck? 15 fucking layers of like blah, 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 like going on and on and on. You can't do that on TikTok, so there's never a wall that you hit, and the fucking garbage cycle just gets thicker and thicker and wider, and it's just trash. And if that's what FD is experiencing, I guess I don't think it's necessarily online left, but if it's TikTok politics, you are 1,000 fucking % correct. It is miserable. It's dog shit content. A lot of the worst debates you'll ever hear too. What's his name? White dude. Good Mr. Good Time or something. Good vibes, good thoughts. I don't know. Him, Parker. Those are the two like big debate guys that I've seen hosting TikTok debates and stuff. And TikTok live streaming can make you a fuckload of money compared to live streaming here, but it's hard as fuck to set up, and they shut it down. You can't do it off your computer. You have to have your phone basically in your hand the entire time, which I'm not about. Oh, by the way, thank you for the 5 gifted subs from Rob Ford. Thank you very much. But like they're like, they'll argue with people and it's just miserable to watch and it's miserable to listen to, even though it's actually, I think, kind of better content, but it's boring. I think TikTok politics is just horrible. And I think YouTube politics needs to pick it back up and move away from a lot of the previous people. I think I actually agree with FD in a general sense, at least at this part. I know after this, he's just going to be like, these motherfucking fish bellies got to go. Which should be fine. I wouldn't give a shit. I hope he does. That'd be funny as fuck. He calls me a fish belly, dude. You take me back all the way to the Westside. But like, I don't think it's I don't think it's an incorrect statement to say that, yeah, it's an issue. And I think it's also pretty fair to say a lot of it starts with fucking white creators, because there's a lot of fucking cringe fucking homie blancos out there that are just cringe as fuck, and you want to react to it. Like, why are you being cringe, whitey? Like, literally, like, you know, I would say the same shit. Like, why is this dude fucking talking? And then if you react to a white person as a black person, then now there's that extra fucking dichotomy. So yeah, like, it is a lot of the time you will see. I mean, the 3 biggest fucking lefty online political creators in my immediate sphere are all white people, and a lot of their immediate orbiters are white or white passing. You know what I mean? Like, who aside from Shark, what do you got in the fucking like Destiny orbiter sphere? Vegan Gains, you know? You got Vegan Gains, Loner Box is Lebanese Scottish. Hassan's Turkish, but Hassan's fucking like a rich West Hollywood fucking you know, effete liberal. It's mostly fucking white people leading these conversations. It's white people talking about white people. And then if a black person wants to have a fucking opinion, you gotta be black. You know what I mean? Like, that's fucking unfair. But I guess that is kind of like the irritating, like, atmosphere shit. You know what I mean? Oh, shit.
Who we have to do work to communicate with effectively. Like, way back in the Ally video, my homegirl, Dr. Candace Hargins, made a comment about, like, do you want to have progress or do you want to be correct? You know what I'm saying? Like, folks are really caught up on being technically correct as opposed to building coalition and community and coming up with strong responses to conflicts and issues. Folks are more interested in style points and pithy comebacks and aren't considering how they sound and come off and whether or not they've actually done anything to help the situation. We live in an online world where everyone is trying to have a monologue written by Aaron Sorkin. If you don't know who Aaron Sorkin is, he's a TV writer who's written some great films and TV shows over the years, like Social Network and A Few Good Men. And he's really, really good at something that I think has like brainwormed so many people on the left. The grandstanding, put them in their place, owned by facts and logic monologue moment. That's why so many of these videos are such and such destroys conservative over abortion bill. Like, that term, that word, destroy, that's an Aaron Sorkin thing.
No. I'm going to hold you to an answer on that. What makes America the greatest country in the world? What about the people? Why is it not the greatest country in the world, Professor? That's my answer.
Okay.
Let's talk about fine.
Only FD can get away with this. I'm not a video essayist. I can't have HBO's IP playing on here. That's from the Aaron Sorkin show about journalism that had a good first season, a dog shit second season, and I think there was a third season that I never watched. That was me. That was prime post-Obama, while Obama was still in office, like very much in office, but like post-Obama election, libertine, liberal politics. You know, like you'd have your twofers, like on 30 Rock, you know, this black guy that went to Harvard, you get a twofer, type like person on the cast, individuals. Everybody's got like, oh yeah, I'm a this, but I'm a this type thing. Everybody's got a slightly deeper backstory that also involves Ivy League education. That scene is Jeff Daniels, who you may recognize from his starring role in the hit comedy Dumb and Dumber, where he played Dumber next to Jim Carrey's Dumb. He just basically, America's not the best country on earth. It's got all these issues, but it could be. It could be the best country on earth. Is the whole thing. I think most of the issues are either unresolved, unresolvable, Aaron Sorkin imaginary things, or things that have changed, you know. Chapo Trap House talked about that at some point. I don't watch or listen to their podcast very much, but people have pointed out like specific legendary episodes. So I listened to the Chapo Trap House Aaron Sorkin shit a couple years ago, actually. I think I recommended that from somebody's Discord server. Sorkin is a overwriter. I'll tell you what, if FD's actually, this might be FD proving he's a deep cut Tyler fan, because I fucking hate Aaron Sorkin. I hate Aaron Sorkin. I hate Aaron Sorkin's writing. I hate Aaron Sorkin's legacy. And I hate every writer that fucking picked anything up from this fucking condescending piece of shit. I fucking hate Aaron Sorkin. I don't think his dialogue's that good. He just makes people talk fast as shit. And it just overloads every sentence. One of the only things I think I for sure 1000% agree with the Chapo Trap House people on is that like Aaron Sorkin brain poisoned the previous generation of liberals before me by Tyler outed himself as a liberal. No, I'm still a lefty. But the people that were the generation before me of people that went lefty at all are like, I need to do fucking Aaron Sorkin style Dem politics to be effective. I'm cool and I smoke cigarettes and I would violate the Cuban embargo. I believe you shouldn't say the N-word to black people's face. And I enjoy jazz music. You know what I mean? Like that kind of. I don't necessarily like the thought of an abortion, but I believe a woman should have the right to choose. And like everyone's like, you know what I mean? It's just, it's so dated. The kind of like the kind of gotchas and stuff. His entire writing style is people having an extremely inside baseball conversation. Do you mean this highly technical thing? No, of course I don't mean that. Of course I don't mean that highly technical thing. I mean this highly technical thing, which you would know if you were paying attention. Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, I was just testing you. Of course you were testing me. But now what are you guys talking about? He's talking about the highly technical thing. Oh, the highly technical thing from the highly technical place where they did the technical thing? Yes, of course. So, of course, we're going to make this decision. Yeah. Everyone says yeah at the end. Everyone's walking. Really, the entire point of Sorkin dialogue is to shell game you into thinking he knows what he's talking about. If you just played 3-card Marley, you can fucking beat Aaron Sorkin. You know, if you know how to shell game, you can bend some cards, and then you realize, oh, he's not making a fucking point at all. He just did like 5 seconds of research on something, and then these people are fast talking, and he got a conclusion from some field expert that's actually boiled down, and he's going to put that in there. Now you think the guy's a genius, but it's really not that big of a deal.
Definitely him, right? Because I think that's just the nature of some of these conversations. But the goal of having your Aaron Sorkin moment has made people stop being empathetic and effective and clear and concise with the issues and things we're trying to communicate. And we don't know how to talk to each other, but we do know what it feels like to get a standing ovation for having the best, strongest, most conservative, destroyed, got wrecked, come back that you can muster. Moments like that make for excellent TV, and they're cathartic. When an issue or topic is bothering you and someone who you...
I don't know how ironic this statement is. I don't know if you messed up the English a little bit or if that's just funny as shit. Guillermo Peña says, all I know about Chapo Trap House is that their fans keep harassing Venezuelans defending our dictatorship. I've had very unpleasant interaction with them. That's one of the most based statements I've ever fucking heard in my life. I like that. Defending our dictatorship.
See, as intelligent and witty and well-learned can like nail the issue and nail exactly what you're feeling. That's cathartic. You want to hear someone you trust break something like that down. I get it. I'm good at this job for a reason. But you forget, people are forgetting that after you finish clapping at the awesome way that I or some other talking head broke down the issue is still there. And it's quite possible that what I said or someone else said hasn't brought us any closer to addressing that issue, especially if I spend more time being glib than being an effective communicator. I've said so many times, and I'll say it again, the forces behind these mediums do not care about anything but engagement. And if you do not resist the urge to engage and share rage bait, you are doing harm. You're doing harm. You're making things worse, possibly spreading that, in fact. The concept of leftist infighting is somewhat silly and it's a meme because...
Yeah, I would actually almost have a conversation. You're running out of time to piss me off, FD. I would almost want to sit down with a conversation with him about this. I think we're actually kind of on the same page. We just see it as having two different sort of inceptions and two different ways to fix it. But I think we're actually on the same page with this problem. I've thought that was a fucking issue for a long time. This is basically, he's sort of reapproaching Card Posting's comments on Alex Gunter. If you guys, to kind of put this in, he's reapproaching the same issues that Card Posting has with Alex Gunter's brand of content, which isn't necessarily like Alex Gunter's fault, but like it's that evolution of, and it is very predominantly white, so I have to give it to them on that, of being chud dunkers, right? It's the Vosh sphere, like kind of iteration of content where you want to set somebody up to have a sort of a moral snafu, and then have your big moment where you, but what you don't understand is this. And of course, if you were thinking about it, you would have said that, but you didn't because you're this and you're that. And fucking ipso facto QED, you can suck a fucking dick. Which I'm not a massive fan of. It's fun to do blood sports and have that be a resolution for blood sports, but I honestly also don't believe it's particularly valuable because you can only alienate the person that you're talking to by dunking on them that fucking hard, which if you don't mind or you want to do that, do it. But you know, there's often not much of a path through. And if you come back to it, or you make that type of content your bread and butter, you're always going to have to go back to it because you're gonna build an audience that wants to see you chud dunk 24/7 all the fucking time, which is kind of what that's where we get back to card postings issues with Alec, is that Alec even interacted with a lefty basically trying to do the same setup that he would do on the right. You know, hey, you're morally hypocritical, you've done these things, I'm gonna fucking unearth some like issues with you, some fucking silver bullets, and I'm gonna hit you with those in order to try to fucking literally dunk on you. Ipso facto, fuck your career, I hope that you log off permanently type shit. I agree that's a bad way to do all of your content. If it happens and it happens to be politically efficacious or like it's deserved, you know, if you want to do that to Carl of Swindon circa 2014, fucking get it. Those are really good content cycles, but some people try to basically play the hits every time with that, and it does become a content fucking swale, a little fucking bit of sargasso out there that I think is ultimately detrimental and creates more negative outcomes than it creates positive.
Because we should always be like having conversations that'll sometimes lead to conflict. I get where we disagree. And I know more than a few leftists that I wouldn't trust to do much of anything in any situation in my personal or like community life space. But I've learned that making content around that is just as bad. And so like, here's the final nugget, maybe something to help folks recognize the difference between conflict and disagreement versus like world defining battles that some find themselves in online. Listen closer to this. Being a leftist is not a marginalized identity. It is not who you are. It's what you believe, it's what you're trying to bring to the world, but that is not you. When people say I'm a leftist, it shouldn't be describing the whole of your personality and like humanity. And for some of y'all who I see as the
yo, you gotta let me know when you're done cooking. So I agree with all this shit. You got fucking
perpetrators of some of these problems.
6 minutes.
Being a leftist doesn't make you stop being white. The aggrieved energy that some
well, was that what you were gonna hit me with, FD? What? Hold on, I gotta rewind so it's still the text is on. Hold on.
Being a left
There's a reaction. Hold on. I'll do the whole reaction. Hold on, let me.
For some of y'all who I see as the biggest perpetrators of some of these problems, being a leftist doesn't.
There was some fucking diet soda in there still. Fuck! That's it, they clip it. Oh my god. Don't throw your back out, my leg hurts really bad.
Doesn't make you stop being white. The aggrieved energy that some of y'all move with, it's within this space, and the way y'all operate, the way y'all talk to people.
Can I make one note, FD, if you ever do one of those? If you would have kept the text up after you finished that sentence, then I could have paused it there and made sure the text was still up and freaked, and it would have been way funnier. It's my only note.
Defensiveness when you're called out or even called in. The absence of just self-awareness and critical thinking, and the things y'all say to motherfuckers in the comment section. Y'all need to chill the fuck out. And shut the fuck up. Just It's not good. It's stop. Let me and other people who are connected to this black liberal space handle that. You all do not, unless you know them folks for real, unless you're going to have a conversation for real, you might want to avoid making content about it or expect to just throw oil on the fire. What I'm trying to get at is that some of y'all argue and respond to disagreement and criticism with the same level of tact and decorum as like the Barbs or like NBA Twitter.
No. Oh my goodness, man.
Don't ever compare me to Nicki Minaj and think that that's going to slow me down, honey. Don't ever compare me to Queen Nicki and think I'm going to slow down because of what you just said, honey. No, it's a fair point. If you've never been around black people before, you can get butthurt about it. It's okay. I'm gonna talk about anybody I feel like talking about because I don't care. What he's trying to say is, if you don't know anything about black people and you're a lefty and you start talking about black issues because you're a lefty and you think that you know about all that shit and you haven't done any research, you're gonna come off cringe. That's the point. You'll come off cringe. People will fucking light you up. It'll make shit harder for everyone else to have a conversation. I think really also, it's probably FD saying, kind of like maybe to some of his friends that are in the larger chunks of these circles that are whites, don't expect me to come in and bail you out if you, as a white lefty, go into a black lefty circle and put your foot in your mouth. Don't come to me trying to get the pass. That's how I read that. Maybe I guess I have been around, folks. I don't mind. I'm still not mad yet. You got another 5 minutes.
Or weebs arguing about anime. And this shit's way deeper than that. And I just need people to have more self-control so that we don't have black liberals and Palestinians being the face of this conflict for a week. That is a tragedy. Black youth are dying in the streets. Black women are dying during childbirth. Americans everywhere cannot afford housing, healthcare. Trans kids are dying through stigma and marginalization. Congolese children are dying from pestilence and having to be ousted from their homes. And Palestinian children are being bombed as I speak. And there is nothing you can immediately do to stop any of those things from happening. Most of you, there's not anything you can do right now when this video is over. And any work you actually do, which you should, will only produce results in maybe weeks, more likely months, or even years. That's the reality of how deep the problems are. And I get it that you can get a feeling of catharsis by leaving a mean comment or a response video on someone's TikTok. And as good as that might make you feel in a moment, it really only makes things worse. Very few things change from that type of interaction. It's just harmful in the end. And that goes for everyone involved, whether I mostly agree with you or not. We have to have more discipline and focus on these platforms when it comes to serious shit. Because otherwise, from my perspective, this is all my opinion, this shit is a waste of time. You're better off, for those left-leaning people, just making content about anime or something, because the politics are getting perverted through these mediums. Today's video is sponsored by Ground News.
Okay. Sir, FD would totally provide the pass for bigger white creators. I don't think so. He doesn't seem like the type. I feel like he would probably already had the opportunity to do it. Motherfuckers, I want to go out and provide. If he had like a good friend, you know, and like he felt like more like personally obligated to try to drag a friend out of a bad situation, he seems like a nice enough guy to like consider it. But like the kind of black folk that are out there trying to hand the pass out, they don't wait for an opportunity. They here you go. They print up the cards like at Kinko's, and they just start passing them shits out. They're flicking them across the table and shit like a blackjack dealer. Flap, 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 flap. I got 6 of them. The thing is, they become less powerful. You can only issue, like, from what I understand, I went to one cookout. You can only issue like 7 effective passes in a lifetime. And so, like, a lot of those are actually, like, debased. So, you know, you pass out 700 passes. They're only 1% passes. People think that they can use them. Well, unfortunately, that one black dude, man, he hoodwinked you. He got you. He moved past his 7 passes. Now he can't issue new ones, but he's still issuing forged, unvalued passes. I don't think FD's that kind of guy. I really don't. I think I would say the main reason I'm even bringing this up, I think he would actually be like highly offended by that possibility. You can dislike him. Don't attack him from that angle. Has and will? Who? What? That's crazy. I would need to see proof. I would need to see proof of that. I would need to see hardcore proof of fucking FD and a pass. Not just like, all right, he's being a goofy. Like give him a second to breathe. You know, not like pulling the circle apart. Like let him up. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like literally like doing the fuck. You got to do the soldier in front of the child with the arrows hitting you in the back of the head. That's the pass. you gotta take Black America across the fucking the chin. You know what I mean? That's handing out the pass. You're standing up for it. He defended DJ Mule. Well, what did DJ Mule do against black people? What did DJ Mule say the N-word? That's the pat. Carrying water for a dipshit isn't handing out the pat. I'm talking about like he excused someone's racist behavior because he was trying to help him out. Did DJ Mule say something racist? What the fuck did DJ Mule say that was racist? Wooly Versus will give you a pass if you record yourself and send it to him. That's crazy. I gotta fight that. I have to see hardcore evidence. That's a very insulting thing to say to black people. If you are not black, don't say that at all. You are calling somebody a certain type of relative, Thomas. Okay, if you say that, so I have to put a damper on that kind of conversation because it's adjacent to that. So don't say that shit unless you're ready to provide evidence. I actually might have to say that might be a bannable that might be a bannable offense because if you don't understand how close to racial politics you're playing with that's actually ridiculous. If he stood up for DJ Mule and DJ Mule's being a dumb fuck, okay, you know what I mean? But if DJ Mule was just like, I don't like these black folk, all right? You know, if DJ Mule was popping off with the N-word real hard, if he was just like, I don't think I think this group of young men in white t-shirts playing basketball should be just taken straight to jail. You know, you gotta kind of hit high. You gotta kind of hit high to get into the ballpark of what I'm talking about. I dislike his football take, and I'll die on that hill. I've never seen it. I dislike a lot of FD's rap takes. Pushing in, pushing P, pushing T. I don't hate him, but the presentation seems like equivocating leftism with race politics. If you're a white leftist and make videos on anime, should have a note on talking about. Am I missing something? What's the huge controversy at the end? The ground news sponsor? No. Am I missing why we keep talking about Congolese people? The Congo has been in an ongoing genocide for a while. One of the current very valid criticisms of outspoken lefties who are making the Palestine conflict their entire lifestyle while not being Israeli, Palestinian, or have ever talked about genocide before is that they have never really talked about genocide and depredation before and are going to be making lots of money off of it while these other genocides have been ongoing. The Congo has been fucked for a while. It's just an issue. There's a few countries in Africa that have had like ongoing sectarian conflict that is equivalent to approaching or has gone through several genocidal actions. And people don't talk about it, even though, you know, America or maybe even their own home country, if they're not from America, might have some serious hands in play. And so the sort of hyper focusing on IP has been suspicious from some lefties because it does seem like they're getting upset about thing in the moment and really, really like going hard. And a lot of them are unefficacious in their talking points and like ridiculous. While not talking about these other things, you know what I mean? And it was never an issue for them until it became one of those like, oh, his son is having people run up to him on the street telling him he shouldn't drink Coke. I should probably hammer this home so I can kind of maintain my career, not because they gave a fuck about it before October 7th. And, you know, if it was just like the October 7th happened and you finally learned about it and you are very fucking fired up about it, that's okay. But if you are supposed to be a major politics and news commentator who has deep knowledge of world history or world events and like is upset about those things and have a long career, it's kind of weird to be that mad about Israel-Palestine while not having also had that same energy for these other conflicts, which you could also try to be talking about, spreading awareness of, knowledge of, because some people see the Israel-Palestine conflict as being a little bit more approachable for white people because the Palestinians are not particularly dark-skinned, especially to the average white person, as, you know, people in the Congo would be. And so the Palestinians and the Israelis, who I can't tell the visual difference between Palestinians and Israelis. It just, they seem like people that all grew up right next to each other. You know what I mean? But they see it as being a more wider overall genocide, and so they're paying more attention to it. That's a conversational topic that happens in communities that are not necessarily mine or involve people that look like me. But the high focus on Ukrainian genocide, very high also focus on the Palestinian genocide, next to no focus on the Congolese genocide, suggests a certain pattern as espoused by the Family Guy color palette meme that certain people are very, very sensitive to. That doesn't mean anything necessarily, no. But it's just a conversational point that people get very upset about.
I promise you they sponsored this video over a month ago. It's just...
Sorry, I'm going to skip your ad.
Something is accurate or isn't accurate, but also the problem of lacking real insight and knowledge into how step by either places, ground news, unlimited access to...
This is FD's video. Watch FD's video. Support his people. I'm going to go ahead and pop out here and give my final takes. I don't disagree with anything at the end there. I don't know why. The only thing racist about you, FD Signifier, is how white you thought I am, you son of a bitch. My race doesn't determine my politics, my friend. I'm privileged. No. I kind of generally agree with his setup. Obviously, he didn't probably for some of you explain it in a way that immediately speaks to you. I think that's kind of an issue with FD here and there. I think FD it gets stuck playing hopscotch, which is just a thing. I have a sympathy to it because you know it's you got to play hopscotch when you talk about political topics, especially when it comes to race. Even if you're black, I know that sounds crazy, but even FD Signifier, being a black man, actually has to be very cautious when he talks about race because this is gonna blow your mind. There's a shitload of white people, and they get really fucking mad when you're racist towards white people, even if you're not, and they just perceive you to be. And they will fucking harass the shit out of you, okay? That's just a case. So he's playing hopscotch. I'm playing a little hopscotch. You're playing hopscotch to try to say stuff. And sometimes when you do that, you don't quite get to the point in the same way that you think. And he can come and correct me. I'm not sweeping for him at all. I think that's a pretty reasonable video. My few issues with kind of his articulation of how the political race is going and in Barack Obama's legacy and how Kamala Harris, that's something I could have a pretty reasonable conversation with him. I'm not trying to bait you into I know you don't like talking on live stream. We don't have to talk. It's fine. But like speaking wise, that's something I think I could have a pretty reasonable conversation with him about and not get heated remotely, despite us being different colors, different sides of the crayon box. What do you say? But no, I think he's onto something. It's not necessarily the way that I would articulate it, and there's probably room for constructiveness, which I don't think he would disagree with his overall interpretation of the situation. But yeah, I generally agree. Yeah, people are way too hyper-focused on slam dunking people for being a little bit off kilter or a little bit off the mark with what they're saying. I think he's sensitive to that, to the point where he was even worried with just nobody like me is watching it. And he's like, well, I think maybe you're going to get fucking super pissed because of the way that I'm talking about this, which is a reasonable fear. And it is a constant fear for almost everybody that's in the political commentary space right now, because people have poisoned the dialectic with two things. rigorous hyper morality and a predilection towards dunking. Republicans, righties might call this cancel culture, and if there is such a thing as cancel culture, I would say this is as close as it gets to it. But yeah, the hyper petty moralizing and the overemphasis on like somebody said something slightly out of turn. I am going to spend 6 live streams and 12 videos, 6 live streams and 12 videos talking about it. Shameful, pathetic way to live. But it is, for some people that get bothered by that, it can actually like literally fuck up the conversation and scare them out of sharing their point, which might actually be more valid and more accurate than other people's. And it also just destroys the ability for anyone to try to approach conversations with the understanding that they can make a fucking mistake and not be fucking crucified for it, which I think is probably my biggest thing. If anything, the only proof that FD has that he's not a constant Tyler watcher is that he doesn't know that that's kind of like the basis of my content, but that's fine. I think that that's very important going forward. I think the internet has had its dunk era for politics, and you can still do it. It's never going to go away, like blood sports, but the blood sports era is over. The blood sports era really did get followed by the dunk era and the chud dunk era and the cringe dunk era. But really it is like I was talking about with the card posting thing. There's a lot of lefties that really just want to desperately involve themselves in lolcow culture. They love the idea of lolcows. They just want to make their own version of it that won't ever let them become a lolcow, which often makes them into the thing that they most desperately want to see. And that is very evident on TikTok, where things are way fucking worse and they move way quicker and people can be way less explanatory about what they're trying to fucking say. And I got to agree with him pretty much overall. As per most FD Signifier videos, because we're both just adults with different life experiences, there's things I disagree with him on in this. None of them are particularly significant. I've highlighted them all. I went on large tangents, and I think it's a pretty solid video overall. I don't know if it's the online left is cooked is the appropriate title, but also fair. You know what I mean? I think it's maybe because he sees it as being doomed, and I see it as there is a way forward. That might just be lucky on my part. But yeah. No, I got to say, in summation, I think I generally agree with actually the second half of the video even more. I think people do need to fucking chill out. I think people need to chill out. I think they need to be a little less focused on the dunking, mostly because not because it's like, oh, I don't want to get dunked on and I don't want to see people ever get dunked on. I think it's just because you set yourself up for failure, and it just turns into like bad content and a bad content cycle and a bad conversational environment, because everybody's basically got everyone else in a fucking like a Mexican standoff quick draw circle where like everyone's like, oh, you know, paranoid as fuck about misspeaking, while also hyper prepared to try to fucking rip everyone else's throats out. I don't think it's a good environment for everyone. And if I slept and that's not what he meant, my bad. And if that is kind of what he meant, or I'm just slightly off but in the right direction, yeah, I gotta say, I stand by the second half of the video. If someone wants to be racist to me as a fucking white guy, I don't give a shit, bro. I live in Kentucky. You know what I mean? Like, if I ever decide to start being upset about people being racist to white people, I can just go do Kentucky legislature shit. I live in a state where they literally outlawed, like I said at the beginning of the program, the fucking words DEI. They outlawed the words of DEI. If y'all want to be a little overcorrective toward white people, I don't give a fuck. I just really don't care. Call me a fucking honky to my face. I don't give a shit. You can't hurt me. You can't. I'm not going to not talk about stuff because I can't not talk about anything. And I don't want to give people the presumption that I'm going to hold my tongue. I will say there's a lot of dumb motherfuckers out there that shouldn't be talking about racial issues. Maybe even black and, you know, other people of color that shouldn't be talking about racial issues because they're also uneducated about it. I've been in y'all's communities. I have seen the old head cringe bodily when a younger person starts talking about like black history and shit, and I go, you know, I've seen gay people like literally like just like have the soul snatched out of them when like young gays that just don't know yet start yapping, and then they're like, no, that's not. What are you saying? Stop undoing all my good work. It just happens. There's dumb fucks. If you're a dumb fuck, shut up. But you can't shut up dumb fucks on the internet. So that's kind of like the uphill battle. I think he's kind of getting doomered over. You know what I mean? But the only thing you can do is actually probably more content and better content creators, which I hope I am. FD pick me. But I think it's fine. I think it's a perfectly reasonable statement as a video. He said way more irritating shit before. I think this is fine. FD, you're. I give this an 8 out of 10. Hope you enjoyed your time on the West Side.